This gives out the best result when it comes to English trousers. But before we go into the cutting proper, let me run through the measurements. Now we have a trouser length of 39 inches, a waist of 33 inches, hip of 45 inches, lap of 25 inches, knee of 20 inches, and the ankle is 14 inches. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to mark out the trouser length. So we're working with a trouser length of 39 inches. So I'm going to place my tape from this point here. Then I'm going to take it down and I'm going to mark my 39 inches. Now, this is the 39 inches. I'm going to mark it to my chalk. Then I'm going to add about 2.5 inch allowance for the hem allowance. So I'm going to take it this way. I'm going to mark my allowance. So this is the actual trouser length and this is 2.5 inch for the hem allowance. So now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to mark out my hip measurement. So now the hip, we're working with a hip of 42 inches. So that hip round 42 inches, we're going to divide it by 4. So 42 divided by 4, that will give me 10.5. So I'm going to mark my 10.5 inches around here. This is 10.5 inches. So I'm going to draw a straight line. So now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to determine our crouch length. Now I made a video on how to determine the crouch length. I'm going to add it in the description. Check the description and click on it to watch my video on how to determine the crouch length. For the crouch of this person I'm sewing this trouser for is 10.5 inches. So I'm going to take it down this way and I'm going to mark my 10.5 inches. So this is the length of the crouch. So I'm going to draw a straight line and connect this my hip position to the crouch position. So now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to impute my lap measurement. So we're working with a lap of 25 inches. We're going to divide that lap measurement by 2. So that will give us 12.5 inches. So I'm going to place my 12.5 inches here. This is the lap measurement. So from this point now, I'm going to draw a curve to connect this hip position to the lap measurement. So from here, I'm going to go up by 3 inches. So I'm going to connect this with a curve and connect it to this position here. So this is how it will be. So this is the position. I'm going to get the midpoint from this my lap measurement. So working with 12.5, so midpoint, that will give me 6.25. So this is the midpoint of this position. So now this part now is very important. I'm going to determine my knee position. How I determine my knee position, I divide the trouser length by 2. So working with a trouser length of 39 inches. 39 divided by 2, that will give me 19.5. So I'm going to place my tape at the top part here and I'm going to take it down and mark my 19.5. So this 19.5, I'm going to mark it here. This is my knee position. From this knee position, I'm going to go in here by 1 inch. A trouser is not supposed to be straight. If you look at the human physique, from your waist down is not actually straight. So we need to taper the trouser to conform to the shape of the human physique. So from this position here, this position, I'm going to go down by 7 inches. So from this position here, I'm going to connect with a curve and connect it to the 1 inch that I took out from the knee position. So it's going to come down this way like this. From here, I'm going to connect it this way like this and connect it like this. You know, we divided our lap into 2. So this from this position to this position is about 6.25. So from the ankle position, which we marked, that 6.25, which is the midpoint of the lap, I'm going to take that 6.25 and I'm going to mark it around this ankle position this way like this. I'm going to mark. So now we're going to actually mark out our knee. Like I said, our knee is 20 inches. So that 20 inches, I'm going to divide it by 2. So that will give me 10 inches. So I'm going to mark my 10 inches. I'm going to mark it this way. 10 inches here. If you notice, I'm not adding any allowance on the front part. All the allowances, I'm going to add it on the back piece of the trouser. So I'm going to connect this lap to the knee. So from this position, I'm going to take it down like this with a curve and connect it to the knee position. So you see it's coming down. So now our ankle is 14 inches. So we're going to divide that 14 inches by 2. 14 inches by 2, that will give us 7 inches. So that 7 inches, I'm going to place the midpoint of that 7 inches, which is 3.5 inches here around this middle mark. So I'm going to mark the 7 inches this way like this. Then I'm going to mark the 7 inches this way like this. So from this position, I'm going to connect it down with a curve to this position. Then I'm going to connect this knee down to this position. Okay, so now I'll connect from the knee position. I'll take it with a curve and link it with the ankle that I marked. So I'm going to link it to the ankle that I just marked. So I'm going to link the other knee position. Then I'll take it down, mark it to my chalk and bring it down to the ankle. That's the 2.5 inch allowance. Okay, so now we're working with a waist of 33 inches. So now I'm going to divide that 33 inches by 4. So 33 inches divided by 4, that will give me 8¼ inch. So I'm going to add 1 inch to that measurement, and that will give me 9¼ So I'm going to mark my 9¼ inch around the waist area. So when I place my chalk, I'm going to mark it. Then with a curve, I'm going to connect it to the hip area. So now I'm going to place my chalk and connect the waist measurement I just added to the hip area. So now I'm going to cut the front piece. Now before we cut the back part of the trouser, we're going to slant this upper part of the front a little, because if you look at the shape of the waist of a human, or either male or female, from this waist area is not actually straight. There's a slant. So I'm going to go down here by ½ inch, exactly ½ inch. So this ½ inch from this point, I'm going to slant it. So I'm going to curve it from this position. I'm going to curve it up and connect to this main point. So this is the only part you are slanting. So from this side, I'm just going to curve it to the ½ inch that I slanted like this. I'm going to curve it like this and connect. So I've taken the front part of the trousers that I just cut. Now I've placed it, I folded the other fabric by 2. So I've placed the front part of the trouser on top of the fabric that I'm going to use to cut out the back part of the trouser. From this position here, I'm going to go in by 1½ inch. I'm going to place my mark here, 1½ inch. Then from this 1½ inch that I took in, I'm going to go up by 2 inches. So from this position, I'm going to go up by 2 inches. So this is the 2-inch position. I'm going to take this up by 2 inches. So from this area now, I'm going to go out by 2 inches here. Then I'm going to draw a straight line here. So from this 2-inch mark, I'm going to go down by about ½ inch. So from this position here, I'm going to draw a straight line like this. So from this straight line now, I'm going to go up by ½ inch. I'm going to determine the measurement of this front waist. So when I place my tape, I have 9 inches here. So this back part of the waist, I'm going to add 2 inches to that 9 inches that is the front waist measurement. So that will give me a total of 11 inches. So from this 1½ inch mark that I place here, I'm going to go out, I'm going to mark my 11 inches. So this 11 inches, I'm going to place it here. So from this position, I'm going to curve it. It's actually slanted, and connect it to this marking, this 11 inches that I marked around here. So now all these positions around here, I'm going to add 1 inch. From this position here, I'm going to add 1 inch, 1 inch all through. This point, I'm going to add 1 inch all through. So this 1 inch mark, I'm going to connect it to this 2 inch. You know, I took care out by 2 inch. So from this 1 inch mark, I'm going to connect it to the 2 inch mark here. Then all through from this position down, I'm going to add 1 inch. From this position, I'm going to connect it like this to form my back piece. This marking that I did here, that 11 inch that I took out here, I'm going to connect it with a curve, because the back is usually curved like this. Connect it to the curve, then connect it to this position. So now this position, I'm going to mark this position here. I'm going to place my chalk and mark this position here. As you can see, this curve of the front. Then I'm going to raise it up like this. Then this upper part, I'm going to connect it with a slight slant. Then I'm going to connect it to this down part. It's like so. From this side now, this is the back. From this side now, I'm going to connect it and connect it to this point. This is the back pattern, and this is the front piece. As you can see, it's looking very, very nice. The shape came out very well. When you actually use this method and you join the trouser, it's going to give you a perfectly shaped trouser.